Welcome everybody to Interconversations. As you know, Interconversations is a series of webinars organized by the internationalization team here at the Department of Early Childhood Education at EDU Hong Kong. My name is Alfredo Bautista, and I am Associate Professor and Associate Head for Internationalization in the ECE department. And I'm very excited to see again so many international colleagues joining us for this webinar today. As many of you know already, Interconversation was born in 2020 during the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic in the attempt of the department to keep the international community engaged and connected, right? So this initiative was actually very well received and with many participants joining us for these webinars that we started organizing back in 2020. So we decided to continue organizing these webinars, basically to try to keep the conversation going and organizing discussions and engaging the international EC community for topics that are relevant not only locally in Hong Kong and regionally, but also internationally. So as you can see on the screen, the title of today's Interconversation is Tech Kids: Unveiling the Impact of Technology on Children's Development and Learning. So today we have invited my very good friend and colleague, Dr. Jana Valdez, to host and moderate the session. So Jana is an assistant professor here in our ECE department. She completed her PhD in educational technology at the Education University of Hong Kong. Jana currently investigates how technology and being online, an online citizen, can contribute to learning. And also she studies the influence of happiness on academic performance. Very interesting topics, I think. In her free time, Jana also likes to explore digital toys for young children, and also she likes to make free websites. So we can see that she's very passionate about the topic of educational technology for children. So nobody better than her to lead and moderate the session today, right? So Jana, thank you so much for doing this with us today. So now I'm going to pass the mic to her, to Jana. I will be later here during the time for the discussion to facilitate with you the discussion time. So everybody, let's welcome Jana, Dr. Jana Valdez to the session today. Thank you so much. And I pass the mic to her. Thanks, Jana.
Thank you, Alfredo. Thank you for the warm introduction. I'm really delighted to bring this forum to you, and it's wonderful to have your support all today, wherever you are in the world. So good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, wherever you are right now. We've been planning this for the past 2 months, and we are pleased to have this sharing with you guys. As you can see on the screen, the title of today's session is Tech Kids: Unveiling the Impact of Technology on Children's Development and Learning. So as mentioned by Dr. Alfredo, my main research area is in educational technology. And being part of ECE, I want to focus on exploring how technology affects children's learning and development. You see, technology is an indispensable tool and element in our lives today. It even feels like incomplete whenever we forget to bring our phones with us whenever we go out. And in fact, even the title of today's session was actually written with the help of ChatGPT. So for this generation of young kids who are born into this digital age, technology is all around them and integrated to their lives already. However, as teachers and parents, we know that we can still struggle with the questions like how much, what kinds, and what ages should we introduce technology to our children. We ask ourselves questions like, how will this affect their brain and body development? Or are they missing out, or they will lag behind their peers if we do not teach them tech skills such as programming and coding as early as possible? Not much is known about technology integration in early childhood level. What is known is that sometimes confusing and or contradictory, as we may say. The truth is that we are actually, like as adults, are also learning about these topics and navigating them for the first time in our lives as well. So today we are really fortunate to have with us our panel of discussants consisting of EdTech ECE researchers and practitioners who will serve or share with us their views about technology integration in early childhood education. So in today's session, we have 4 wonderful discussants who have kindly agreed to share their knowledge with us today. Each speaker will have around 10 minutes to introduce themselves and give a short presentation addressing 2 key questions which I had given to them in advance according to their area of expertise. After the 4 presentations, we will proceed to the question and answer session, where we will be reading the questions that participants will be writing in the chat box during the presentations. Okay, so now let's get started with our first discussant today is Dr. Weipeng Yang. Weipeng is an assistant professor in the Department of Early Childhood Education at the Education University of Hong Kong. His research interests include early childhood curriculum, STEAM education, robotics, and computational thinking. Weipeng, the question we have for you is, how does technology impact children's development? Is it bad to let young children be exposed to technology, or do we need to prescribe specific number of hours of technology used to children? Weipeng, please go ahead and share your screen. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Jana. Thank you for the questions. And I'm so excited to share with you my current research and also like some of my observations. So first of all, let's record the questions. First one, how does technology impact children's development? And the second one, is it bad to let children be exposed to technology? And whether we need to prescribe some specific number of hours of technology use to our children. And today, I would like to just show you the recommendations given by the American Academy of Pediatrics, AAP, in the United States. And AAP has provided recommendations on a variety of topics related to children's health, of course, including screen time. So screen time is very relevant to our everyday technology use, including children's technology use. So according to the AAP, screen time is the amount of time a child spends using the e-devices. For example, televisions, computers, tablets, and even the smartphones. So the rule is that children under 2 years of age should not have any screen time, except for video chatting. Because video chatting is very interactive, and later I will talk about so-called quality screen use as well. And the second is that for the children aged 2 to 5 years, they should have not more than 1 hour of screen time every day. And then for the children 6+, then they can have more flexible screen time. But the thing is that parents should work with them to set the limits. Okay, so just in one word, the screen time should be limited. And also we should encourage children to engage in many different activities, such as playing outside, reading, spending time with family and their friends. And this is because of many research evidence has shown us that excessive screen time can have a number of negative effects on children's health. For example, like increased risk of obesity, sleep problems, behavioral problems, difficulty paying attention, and reduced academic achievement. For example, like slower literacy skill development, and so on. So actually, it's not just about the time, but also the quality of technology use. So there are some research showing us that there are 2 different types of screen time. One is called interactive screen time, or sometimes we call active screen time. And another is the passive screen time, or non-interactive screen time. So there is a research conducted in Chinese preschool children, which is very relevant to our context, is that children, the Chinese preschoolers, if their passive screen time or their non-interactive screen time was negatively associated with their math achievement, science performance, executive functioning, and social skills. And these are all the foundational skills very important for their school readiness and even their long-term, lifelong development. And while their active screen time, or sometimes we call it the interactive screen time, was positively associated with their receptive language skills and science knowledge. So what are those active screen time? For example, using some educational apps, or sometimes we say like coding apps, and all those are interactive screen time. While for the passive screen time, like watching television, is passive. So the suggestion is that we should find high quality programming if you choose to introduce screen time, and try to watch and play together with your children. So it's also related to so-called positive technological development. So PTD is actually a framework guiding us how we should introduce technologies to our young children. So there are the principles of 6 C's: collaboration, communication, community building, content creation, creativity, choices of conduct. So all 6 C's, they are actually introducing positive engagement when children are introduced with technologies. So also, according to some other research, we found that for an app or a digital app or a tablet application to have educational potential for our young children, it must incorporate 4 pillars. The first one is active learning. The second is engagement. The third, meaningfulness. And the last one is social interaction. So actually they are so similar, right? They are kind of aligning with each other. They are very consistent. The PDT framework and also the 4 pillars of educational app. So the main idea is that to promote active screen use, or to so-called to have positive technological opportunities for children's learning and development. So here I'm showing you some apps or technologies, robots. They are age appropriate, and we have evaluated them in my lab within our team, and also we found them to be meaningful, useful, engaging for our young children. For example, Bbot. So I'm not sure whether you are using Bbot with your kids. It's quite typical. It's quite these days very popular in Hong Kong kindergartens, and also Codapilla, which is also very popular in the States. And then PubBits is a coding app, also appropriate for young children at age 3 to 5 years, to 4 years. While for elder kids, there are also some other quite active, positive coding robots and apps. For example, like Scratch Junior is very, very popular. It was developed by MIT in the States. And also Kibo. Kibo was originally developed by a research team in the Tufts University. And then the last recommendation is Lab, developed in Shenzhen, China, which is also now internationally reputable. So we in my team, we also further developed an approach, which is a pedagogical approach to incorporate those age-appropriate technologies into children's learning experiences. So we call it as culturally responsive robot programming approach. So we try to like find stories that are culturally appropriate, which can really bring up the scenario, the cultural experiences of our children, and then read with them. So we had shared reading, and then we identify a problem from the story plot with our children and try to introduce coding technologies and even some other unplugged materials to let children make something, which is actually exactly the process of engineering design. So we also learn together like how to use some very basic foundational coding skills to code a robot so that it can complete a task or solve a problem. So in this process, children are learning definitely, and this is also inspired by the theory of constructionism, is that children learn through making. They when they make something, when they use very hands-on tangible materials, they will definitely learn something. And also eventually we also give them opportunities to practice their language skills, like to share their solutions and prototypes and so on. So you can see that this approach itself is very integrative, is very engaging, is meaningful for our children because it's culturally responsive. And also we want to incorporate very important elements like playful learning, and also cultivating children's habits of mind. So here I'm showing you in very, very short time a learning story of this approach and how children will benefit from this approach. I'm showing you a very quick, very short video. Let me finish my sharing. So of course this year is the year of dragon, and anyway, so just some takeaways. The thing is that to empower our children in the digital age, there are 4 takeaways, some suggestions. The first one is we need to have the dedicated space. And in that space, we should provide not just the traditional materials, but also some technologies. And these technologies, they should be proved age appropriate and very engaging for children. That's what we call interactive technologies. The second, we should upgrade our schedule so that children, they will have sufficient time to experience so-called positive digital learning. Originally, we didn't have that kind of opportunities for children because we don't have the time specifically for this kind of positive technology learning. Okay, so but these days we are in the age of AI. I think it's necessary for children to have this kind of learning experience as well. And the number 3 is we should highlight technology and engineering in our regular curriculum. It could be your school-based curriculum, and it could be in your family curriculum. What I mean family curriculum is actually like the family routine. Okay, so like in the family routine, we can also let children to interact with the technologies, but make sure that it's not passive screen time. And lastly, we will really need to provide more effective training and guidance for our educators, of course, teachers and parents. Okay, so if you would like to get in touch, feel free to email me. And I'm also now working on the project about robot play. Yeah, thank you so much. And I wish you enjoyed this webinar.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yang, for your great sharing. From your presentation, I know that we can get to learn that 2 years old and below shouldn't have any exposure yet to screen time, while 2 to 5 years old are advised to have 1 hour a day. And 6 years and older, adults have more freedom to set their limit, but they should be encouraged to do other physical activities as well. So what's also good from your sharing is that when we say technology for children's learning, it's not always the screen-based kind of approach, but there are many digital toys that parents and teachers and principals can actually explore to introduce to children, apart from using mobile applications to enhance their learning experiences. So thank you, Dr. Young, for your sharing, and we can proceed with our second discussant. So our second discussant is Miss Ellen Lau. Ellen is the co-founder and director of training at Preface, a technology training company that offers award-winning technology and coding education to learners of all ages, including young children. She established the Nomad Community, a tech instructor community that empowers tech talents to harness their full potential. So she is also dedicated to cultivating a love of learning among instructors and learners communities who embody the Preface motto, "There isn't a thing that cannot be learned." Wow, that's a great motto. Ellen, the question we have for you is, what are the advantages of teaching coding to young children? And why do parents send their young children to your school? Ellen, please go ahead and share your screen. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Jana. All right. So once again, I'm Ellen. I'm very happy to be here to be sharing with all of you. So as we are running a technology enabling school, so what it means is we actually have been seeing a lot of children from 3 years old onwards up to primary school, secondary school, to university, and to also corporate trainings. So we have been seeing how actually different needs are there in education when it comes to technology advancement, especially. Like, it's really fast nowadays. So my focus today would be on how coding is so good for young children, and also why parents would like to send children to our coding school. So I myself are not like other professors and doctors here with a background of education, but I've been practicing teaching and also in technology training for over 10 years. So I've been engaged in a lot of tech training for no matter schools and corporates and universities, and enjoy a lot of like hackathon events as well, being judges and mentoring a lot of children in all these technology training or competition events globally. So I hope today I can share more of like more practical use of it. So first of all, about our company, I mentioned a lot already. So we actually are not just in Hong Kong, we also work in UK, in Japan, and also in Singapore as well. So you might see our presence over there. And we have a belief that in order to help us to get young people ready, we are imagining what it is in their life when they are graduated. So you can imagine that what we need to invest them right now is that we have to have a vision of how the future will be like. So we have to get them prepared for that. So when it comes to investing on the skills needed in 2040, which is the time when 5-year-old or 7 years old are graduated that time. What does that mean actually? So I read up a lot of articles, and there are multiple words that I saw in the career development so far. I can see that a lot of people are saying, oh, probably it's data literacy. Maybe they need to know how to do storytelling, because this is the key skill in no matter sales or negotiating with others or making people listen to you, being a leader. Maybe curating things, as in like curating a museum exhibition. Why is it a skill that is needed? It's because it might be a time when you have to connect your own network to curate something for other people. That makes sense. We also need global competence, as in you, because the world is like interconnected very well that time. You can imagine, especially with AI and technology. So you need that competence to work globally. And finally, it's ethics. Because we talk about data literacy, the use of AI, use of tech. So I believe ethics is something very needed. So when the future 2040, it's like this, or the career skill set, it's all about these words. So what does it mean by kids learning about coding? So how is it related to young kids learning coding right now? So we have been teaching young kids for a long time. So it's some like sharing of what we teach and why we see it as an advantage. So first off, so here you can see like 2 kids doing codes, and you can see some like photos or images or words. So on the top layer, you can see it's all about like problem solving, logical thinking, analytical skills. In a middle layer, it's all about like creativity, whether they are curious enough to find out solutions, find out things, being empathetic towards different scenarios or new things. Are they open-minded enough? And lower part, it will be on collaboration, whether you can connect with people by storytelling, and whether they persevere enough to finish something. So these are all the words that I have right now, but what it means is actually started off with something like this. So when we talk about coding, we talk about the good things about coding. We need to know what coding means, right? So for very young age, for example, like 4, 5, 6-year-old or 7-year-old, we have been teaching them how to code. And what it means by code is, let's say, project-based. So you can see that here. We have games development, like getting out of maze. They need to learn about how to set up the world of this game, how to set up the characters here, and how to set up the codes, which is actually handling the entire game logic. So they need to learn about something like this. And for example, here, another game, probably they would need to learn how to control the rocket ship by coding the movement of rocket ship or the coordinates of the rocket ships, and maybe the size of different obstacles that it's coming down or enemies that it's coming down. So these are all the elements in a game. So world, character, and coding the logic. So apart from game, there are something called animations, right? So in the world of animation, same thing actually. Students would need to know about the world, the characters, the storyboard, storyline, what message they want to convey, and present the animation as a story here. And finally, probably they could also make something like a math quiz or any kind of quiz that they can test people out. So you can see here, we have a game about math. So in this code project, students would need to set up, again, the world, again, the character, and the interactions between character and also the user or the players. So here is this math game to be implemented. So why I want to share all of this to you is because you can imagine for every project that I mentioned just now, in a project-based coding cycle, what it means is we will show them the project sample, first of all, like the maze game. And then we'll try to break it down into smaller parts or smaller steps towards the student, like have them or encourage them to think about, oh, in the maze game, there is the maze, there is the rabbit. Oh, so how the rabbit should be moving. Maybe when we click on the arrow, it will be like controlling how the rabbit should be going. And what is the winning and losing condition. So this is to have them or train them up to think of how to break down the project. And of course, after they see the sample, they also have to design what they like to design. Like, is it necessarily a maze like what I showed you just now? Is it necessary to have the rabbit as a character? Is it necessary to have the arrows to be the controller? So kids have all the creativity to do their own design with their imagination. Afterwards, they would learn how to build the things according to the breakdown of the project and how to build it up from scratch. And then after building, of course, they need to test it out and debug and launch and show to other people. So they will be sharing that project outcome. So that's the project-based coding cycle of any project that I mentioned just now. And so what does that mean when it comes to the advantages to students? You can imagine like breaking down into the steps and learning about what they actually, it's like we're training them to. So for example, when they're doing the project sample or seeing or viewing the project sample, they're actually learning how to be like curious because they are looking to play the game or to read the animation, and they would gather and understand the requirement of the project first of all. So they need to be curious and they need to be understanding what's going on. So they have the analytical skills over there. Second, here, break down the project. Of course, they need to know the category of what they're seeing or viewing. So the analytical skills. And afterwards, they need to learn how to design, right? So they will be like thinking, oh, what the user would be liking to see. They have to understand the user's view or user's liking. So they have a user-centric mindset over there, and they are creative, being very creative to know how to design. And of course, here, when they build, they need to be logical, persistent, and test and debug. They have to have this problem-solving skill. And finally, when they launch the project and showcase to other people, they are actually like training up themselves in the communication and storytelling skill. So overall, like the final thing that I think it's like very, very important is when you add up every single person's project together or the mindset together. So this is a cycle of like collaborating with other kids and create something bigger. So I will share a little more later on. So here to sum up, to teach them how to code is actually training them on all these skills, which is very, very important for young kids, especially when they're building app and they're very, very receptive to any kind of training when at this young age. So that's very important. So Jana gave me another question, which is why do parents send their young children to our school? So here, for us, there are quite a number of reasons. So of course, some may say, oh, they want to do portfolio building for students, so they can go to like better school. Some would be like, oh, their fear of missing out because technology seems to be very, very important. I think some of them are quite lost, don't know what to provide with the kids whenever, especially when technology is advancing very, very fast. Even the parents might not be able to catch up sometimes. So these are all the reasons that the parents might be having, or the reason behind why they send the kids to the school. So, but to us, what we want to calm down the parents is, okay, this is the methodology that we're doing. So it is actually also helping the parents to catch up with technology as well. It's whenever there's new thing happen, we have kids to explore technology. We have them to apply technology. For example, let's say AI. They explore what AI is. They apply what AI is into different scenario, and they showcase what they think AI can do for them. And it's a cycle whenever there's new technology coming in. So for example, for explore, in the project-based learning, you can imagine how exploration is like. So for example, last year, there are a lot of like new tech coming in. So this is one of the new tech, let's say AI. They learn about how to make the kids drawing, adding skeleton into it, and then they can animate students drawing here. Yeah. So this is something that technology can help the kids to explore. I mean, teaching code or it can help kids to explore new tech. And then another reason why parents like want the kids to learn, it's because they really want them to be ready for any new innovation in the future. Because in the classes, parents might not know how like school or herself or themselves should be teaching technology to kids. So they might come over to explore, okay, can we have any, whenever there's new innovations in the market, we want to give it to the kids. For example, everyone talk about AI right now, maybe text to speech, text to audio, text to image. So are we bringing this technology into the kids' world to think of what they can actually do, so they're not fear of technology first of all, and whenever there are new things coming in, they are like open to explore in a guided way, of course. So so except for explore, also apply is very important. So parents sending them here because we allow them to apply in many different ways. For example, like Tech Fun Day, hackathons, where we give them a problem statement that like this. We have set a problem statement of, okay, how do we make the school more environmentally, or school teachers or classmates more environmentally conscious? So we set up the criteria for them, which is we want to see the problem. We want to ask people to be environmentally friendly in school, and we want to show a result. So this is what the kids might be doing with technology, so they have fun over it when they apply what they learn with us. And this is some more like showcase of how we have the kids explore robotics, and then in the campus they can play around with the robotics and see how we can actually apply what they learn in the coding classes, for example, to control the robot to walk in sequence, and they will explore different things like Easter egg hunts in the campus. So this is for them to apply what they learn in the daily lesson. And finally, we definitely need to help the students to showcase what they have been learning as well, or presenting what they have created as well. So we allow them to have a lot of showcase time to get on stage, to share their thoughts, be not afraid of sharing, explore a museum together, explore in a 2 weeks camp about maybe one SDG goal, bring them out of Hong Kong, or in the community to see what other people are really having right now. So this is what we believe. It is whenever we say that we want to build the kids for 2040, we need to think about what 2040 means. And of course, what we think about 2040 means might not be real, but then we have to like already develop every kid to have a mindset of being not fearful about the future, and they have the spirit of exploring, applying, and showcasing, and to be very open-minded in the future. So I think that's all for my sharing. Thank you so much, everyone. In case you have any questions, let us know at any time later on.
Thank you so much, Ellen, for your presentation. We can really see from, when we talk about technology, although it's really happening already right now with the exposure of many AI developments, it's also talking about the future, especially that we are discussing about the young children, and we're thinking about how technology can actually change their learning and their development. We also have to be concerned on what are the specific skills they have to learn, much different from what we are when we were still young kids. So these kinds of skills are really essential for their development right now. And I think many of the audience can resonate with me. Thank you for sharing what coding really means for young children. Because before, when I don't have any knowledge about coding for young children, I was thinking, why do we teach coding for young children? It's too complicated. But when we think about it now, it's actually suited for their level, the basic skills. But although while we're teaching them the basic skills of coding, we are actually developing some essential skills that are actually transferable to their daily living, such as creativity, perseverance, and even problem-solving skills. So it's really great to let the children be exposed to more kind of learning experiences that technology can actually offer to them. So thank you, Ellen, for your sharing. Yeah, and let's proceed with our third discussant. It is Miss Yana Kuiti. Anna is a teaching professional with over a decade of early years experience. She is currently employed at ESF Tung Kindergarten and is the IT representative there. So her expertise is leveraging technology to empower the learning experience, aligning technological advances with modern pedagogical approaches. So her goal is actually to inspire positive transformations, push boundaries, and empower educators to embrace technology as an integral part of the early years landscape. Anna, the question we have for you is, as a parent, what are your views about allowing your young children to use technology at home? And what are your concerns about technology use for young children? Anna, please go ahead and share your screen. The floor is yours.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Yana, and thank you, everyone, for having me here today. This is very exciting to be able to share something I am very passionate about with you all. So when I was given the question as a parent and a teacher by Jana, what were my views? I thought I was just going to pull a few words that I would feel would resonate most with the audience and resonate with myself. And so I'm going to start off with looking at boundaries, responsibility and communication. When I am talking about boundaries, we're communicating about how we set clear boundaries when it comes to technology use at home. And this is going to be very different in every context. You know, in our home, I have a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old. So, you know, the context in which I set boundaries for my children is greatly different to how someone who has a 3-year-old might, a 3 or 4-year-old would set boundaries. The underlying principle, regardless, I do believe remains the same. So we're looking that you are the adult and you are responsible for the device that your child is using, whether it's a television or a laptop or a Nintendo Switch or an Xbox or an iPad or a phone, whichever device it is that they are engaging with, that we as the adult in the situation are the ones that are responsible for this. And the content that our children are accessing, which when I speak to parents, this is one of their main questions, is how do I know what they're watching? How do I know what they're accessing? Is it safe for them? So when looking at setting boundaries, one of the first things, which I know has been brought up by a couple of my colleagues on here previous to me, so I won't go into it too much more, is about time. And how much time is okay for us. There are guidelines out there, as we have seen earlier, but as a family, looking at how much time do you feel as a family unit is appropriate for your children. This may incorporate children using it for different things. They might be engaging with perhaps homework style content. Perhaps a child is using an iPad as a regulation tool when it comes to talking about children with diverse needs. So I really think it's important to look at the guidelines of time on devices very kind of pragmatically in regards to you as an individual family unit and the needs of your family and your children. And also being aware of this when we talk to other families or other members of our community about the screen time that their children are also using. And have we done the research? And I think this is a really big one because I am also guilty of it, not maybe checking 100%, you know, I'm busy. Oh, yes, sure, you can watch that. And then turning around and going, oh, perhaps that's not quite right. So I always encourage parents and encourage myself to, you know, do the research on those apps and games, messaging platforms, social media, device settings is a really big one, online settings. I come across a lot of parents who don't know actually how to work the iPad apart from putting it on the Wi-Fi. So it becomes very challenging for those families to learn how to set screen time boundaries on a device or put parental restrictions on that device as well. So it's important that we've done our research and that we've really looked into, is this program appropriate for my child? Again, in the context of your own family. So you might look at this culturally, ethically, any sort of beliefs and values that you have would come into play in this regard. Another thing, when we're talking about responsibility, a few of you are educators, I think, so you might have a little bit of familiarity with a KWL chart. It's something we use a lot in IB, and it's what we know, what we want to know, and what we want to learn. I would adapt that in this case when I share technology questions with parents as thinking about what do we know? You know, what do we already know? What are we confident in? What do we want to know? And then really finding out, what do we need to learn? What do we need to learn to keep our children safe when they are becoming a part of a community which is responsible digital citizens? Being a communicator. And I think it seems like it's a bit of a given, but it's really important to have these conversations, reaching out to your neighbors, to other parents, reaching out to your teachers, the school. Ask the questions if you're not sure, because at the end of the day, the we are responsible. We are the adult who is giving that child the iPad. And so we want to make sure that they are safe and that we have considered the safety aspect of it as well. And especially, I know with Alan speaking a lot about AI, this is something I have been quite heavily involved in recently. And to not sugarcoat it, the things that we're seeing coming through schools internationally with AI are terrifying. And although we are talking about young children on this forum, I think it's really important that as parents, we do safety first. We do that research and we know how to support our children in being safe users of technology. So by taking a adult first proactive approach, from my opinion as a parent, it's always learning, and something I would always say is I'm not an expert. I will never be an expert because we have to keep learning at this. You can never know it all. But helping children to develop those healthy habits around the use of technology is something that we can do. And the last little comment there, which I always say, is be okay with saying no. It's okay if your child says, I want the iPad, we say, sorry, no, and sticking with that. 3-year-olds scream and cry, as I'm sure a lot of you have them. Don't worry, they'll be fine. Just really making sure that we're saying no, we're telling them why we're saying no, we're keeping that communication open so they know that, well, they probably won't understand, but eventually it will develop kind of an understanding within your family that the boundaries are there to keep them safe, and that's a good thing. The second question here is concerns. Now, I took a very active early years educator approach to this, and I decided to do 3 different sizes of jars because I feel that a lot of the concerns I have personally as a parent and an educator, there are solutions that you can work on to help support you with this. However, some of them are a lot more challenging than others. So starting at the bottom there, parent education and passive consumers. Now, I know children's passive consumerism was spoken about a wee bit earlier, and that is children really just using devices, just watching. We're not interacting. It might be seeing children perhaps in a pushchair with a phone, or at the dinner table and everyone's on devices. So I think being passive consumers is something that is very visible in society. I think we would all agree that we see it a lot when we're out and about, and it's something that it is a concern, but I think with parent education, we can remedy that. We can support that. We can support our families in being more confident to understand the principles around responsible technology use, especially for young children. My middle jar here is the speed of change. Technology is changing so rapidly and we have to keep up. And this is a concern because if you are a teacher, you are already very busy. If you are a teacher and a parent, you are very busy. If you are just a parent, you are very busy. If you are a parent who just works full-time in a normal job or any other job, we're busy. We lead incredibly busy lives. And the speed in which everything changes in technology, I think, is something that's a slightly more of a concern for me because it's so challenging to keep up. And then I think the things that I really sort of were my biggest concerns when I thought about this question was misinformation and awareness, or lack of awareness sometimes. Misinformation is it's a relatively large societal problem. I think with the access we have to information online and technology, misinformation can come through quite thick and fast. This can be something as big as, an article that's posted widely, or it could be a parent's comment on a WhatsApp group. And I think it's really important that we address misinformations. And I would bring it back to my first slide there when I talked about communication. If you're not sure, just ask. Do the research, look into it, and make sure that what you are implementing in your home and with your children, your precious children, is right for you. And then awareness. And I really think those two go hand in hand, is being aware of the dangers that are out there, being aware of how to use a device, and just being aware of changes and making sure that you're taking the time to become knowledgeable and be a learner about these kind of things as well. So I have kept it pretty short there. I hope that's okay. But sort of just as a bit of a conclusion, I think as we navigate the relationship sort of between this sort of evolving landscape of technology and early childhood education, just remembering that the power lies not just in the gadgets, but in the way we shape our children's relationship to them, so that they can be safe, kind, smart, responsible users of technology. So embrace those learning opportunities, seek out help if you need it. And I would say knowledge is power, and find those boundaries, find what works for your family. And if you ever feel lost, you can just remember that Google knows everything. Well, almost everything, but a little bit close there. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Anna, for your sharing. I can see that there are some parents who would want to ask questions already, but we will say, let's save your questions later after all the presentations. So just save your questions for later. And Anna, thank you for sharing your presentation with us. I know that there are many parents and adults who can resonate with you in terms of the challenges in regulating children's use of screen time. And some of them are even guilty as well, that, sometimes when we are so busy, it's so difficult to really manage these children's use of technology. And that's why we just let them, just to have some peaceful time, you can use the gadgets so that, we can take some relaxation time as well. Yeah, so thank you, Anna, for your sharing. I think
welcome.
many
Thank
parents
you.
have learned a lot from your sharing. Now let's just proceed first with our fourth discussant, Mr. Anthony Lee. Anthony is originally from Scotland and came to Hong Kong in 2007. So he is a confessed STEM guru who trained and worked as an electronics and computer engineer before becoming a kindergarten teacher and facilitator. He has a PGDE and a master's in STEM education and over 10 years of teaching experience. Anthony brings his passion for STEM in education into his classrooms, encouraging young minds to explore different modes of learning. His long-term goal is to guide children to be curious, creative, and confident problem solvers who are equipped to tackle real-world challenges. Anthony, the question we have for you is, what are your views about using technology in the classroom? What have you tried in your classroom, and did you find it beneficial or challenging? Anthony, please go and share your screen. The floor is yours.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the benefits and views of technologies in the classroom. So what is technology? As the world changes, so does our methods. So how do we educate our students is just basically recognizing what technology is. But technology is moving such a rapid pace in the past few decades. So we're moving from the 21st century, now we're moving into the 22nd century. But what do we view technology as? So technology is iPads, computers, mobile phones, robots. But how should we really view technology? We should view technology as like a tool, guide through learning, and also as a resource. So what are the benefits of having technology in the classroom? It really supports learning. So technology can offer a variety of teaching and learning techniques that can help teacher convey a subject, and also make use of that material or use it as a resource. So just to engage a larger audience of children. It also provides a more engaged learning environment. So technology can really help teachers present like subjects in more interactive and creative ways with all the different possibilities, and also the possibilities of like digital literacy. Because when I remember when I was growing up, it's like all we do was press a button. So now with the technology, the digital literacy, it's like you have to pinch to make it zoom in and zoom out, and also with you have to swipe now. So like you're swiping to the left, to the right. So that's digital literacy is ongoing as the children are always learning that as well. And also prepare students for the future. So technology is everywhere. It's not just in the school environment, but also at home. And the children are always aware of what technology is, especially when it comes to iPads. So my son's only 18 months, but he actually knows how to swipe and open my phone at the same time. So children are always ahead of us when it comes to technology. So it's best to have some technology in classroom where the children guys should have access to, and that will lead up into building up future careers like AI and coding as well. So I've made this little diagram here. So when it comes to incorporating technology in the classroom, we always come up with some challenges. So let's build a scenario, say lesson activity that with you wanted to make a slope, okay? And then you've got building blocks and you stack the blocks up, and then you put cars out and the car will move down the slope faster. The higher the blocks, the stacked up blocks, the faster the cars will go. So you set up the environment and then you've got 2 iPads. So it's good to go. So that's the easy part. But once you go up that hill, the challenging part is involving everyone. So in the classroom setting, how to involve everyone? Because children nowadays, they get access to the iPad. So most of the children will go to the iPad. How do you get them to engage with the slope instead? So at the peak, at the top of the level, so once it's moved down, so that's when you've got the children settled, they know what to do, it's easy, they're starting to build up the blocks. But then we get down to the downhill part. So your lesson is to show the children how to make the cars go faster. But they're having so much fun, they're just pushing cars around, but you haven't met that objective, but they're having fun, so let's just let them have fun. But you need to focus on objectives. So that's the challenging of breaking that fun and then providing that back to the beginning, and say I need them to learn how fast I can make the cars go down. Then it brings me to the conclusion. So this one I give as a give or take. So the conclusion can go the right way or it could be the wrong way. So when it comes to the end, so basically the wrong way would be just having fun. There's no purpose to the lesson, but you decided to just tell it, for example. So you just stack the blocks in front of the children and then put the slope and say, oh, it goes fast. I'm going to stack it higher. It goes fast. That's the last thing they know. So when they go back to tell their parents, oh, I made the cars go very fast, but did they actually do it themselves? No. So it's a give or take. So that's why it's at the low end. So you can actually teach something at the end, last 5 minutes, but the whole process, you haven't taught much. So let's go back to the views on technology as a parent and for teachers as an educator as well. So screen time is another thing that Weipeng pointed out as well. So I've kind of touched on that as well. So screen time can really restrict children's imagination and creativity. So according to the WHO, the World Health Organization, so from infancy to pre-nursery, so they have these 30 minutes spread out through the day. And then from 3 to 5, no more than 1 hour spread from a day. So my intake as an educator toward parents is more focused on the unplugged technology. So unplugged play on the hand, where it allows them to explore, experiment, and create their own narratives. So what is unplugged technology? So make use of, you see there, the overhead projector, digital cameras. So although you get to see some digital cameras, you get to see the screen, but they're only flashing for a few seconds and they're constantly taking pictures. They're not constantly looking at the screen all the time. The pulley system, so where you get to just pull a bucket, typewriter, as you can see on the left, my left. Whereas they can just really type and then get see how it works, how actually like mechanisms work. Pendulum painting, that's basically how I created it with a few buckets and then if a paint, you start a string and then there's this bounce back and forth with each other. And once they bounce, the paint will draw a line. Coding books, I have seen that, but it seems quite hard to find, but I have seen around. We have a few at the school and they really work. It's a simple way of coding. So it's like a baby book kind of style. So also technology doesn't always have to be unplugged. So these are overcoming challenges and strategies which we can use. So, and make sure objectives are met from the students. So it's easy enough for them to achieve them. And it's important for them it's important for the teacher as the educator to familiarize with themselves with the technology. So that when they integrate it, it's a lot easier and they know how to involve everybody at some point. So it's like throughout lesson, like I won't expect like you to get the children to all focus on at all times, but just a few points at a time. You don't have to be very, very focused all the time. And last point is add in emotions, provide lots of energy and make it fun. So also it's important to reinforce concepts when incorporating technology. So technology really enforces concept by learning experience, especially comes to setting. And through that setting, you can bring out more interactive and be more visual in your like resources. So either you can focus on being either abstract or complex. So whether through like virtual experiments or simulations, technology really provides more like dynamic, immersive. So then it builds up a deeper understanding of the key concepts such as like digital literacy, media literacy, and critical thinking. So therefore, with the active participation, you actually receive more real-time feedback, where as an educator, teacher, you can be more of an observer. When you be more observer, you can actually revisit. So once you make use of that technology, you can say, okay, that didn't work. So you can really personalize that learning experience and really like go back to it and then relearn it or revamp it. So it makes it more effective and make it more engaging throughout the children's learning journey as well as your personal learning journey. That brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anthony, for your presentation. I can definitely actually resonate with you on the challenge. Like, say, for example, when you introduce a specific technology to children, because even at my level, I'm teaching an undergraduate students. But when I start to introduce them a specific software or a learning platform or a digital toy they can apply in school, they tend to start enjoying it. And then it's hard for me to cut them off and start explaining the relevance of this digital toys or online platforms to them. So that's, yeah, and especially it's even more challenging for young children. And actually, I also agree with you that technology can reinforce learning experiences for children because their cognitive ability is it's still difficult for them to understand abstract concepts. And that's how technology can actually enhance their learning experience so that they can be provided with more concrete learning environment. Say, for example, if you're talking about space or underwater like sea exposure, that we cannot put the kids underwater, or we cannot just fly them to the space. So the technology can help us to show and let the children experience this kinds of environment that non-technology cannot provide for them. So Yeah, I would like to thank all the presenters for their sharing. You are all wonderful speakers, and thank you so much for spending your time to prepare your presentations and for your willingness to share your knowledge with us. And I'm sure that we have captured the interest of our audience for today. And in that sense, we may have some questions from the audience. So maybe Alfredo can help me in terms of looking at the questions posted in the chat box.
Yes, so thanks, Jana, and everybody. So there were a few comments, questions as you guys were presenting. At some point, our friend Betty Yao, who is connected here with us today, she has been sharing different links, and she wrote, "I'm just sharing some AI devices which I learned about last month from one of my friends. It would be great for supporting language development." And Betty has shared a couple of links. Betty, I wonder if you would like to say something about them, but if you would like, you are most welcome to go ahead.
Hi, Alfredo. Well, thank you for sharing the information or letting me share the information. I really just learned about these products literally just a couple of weeks ago. And I think when we're talking about unplugged learning and reducing screen time, I just thought it'd be nice to share because I haven't heard of these products before. And as some of the speakers already mentioned, technology is changing so quickly. So I just thought to share it out there while we're in this forum and so many of us are here. I don't know if the products are any good, but I particularly like the reading robot. I think it's called Luca, which you can order online. But I think that the unique thing about these kind of technology devices is that they can allow you to read aloud to children, and particularly the reading robot, you can have many different languages. I think something like 20,000 English books. You can scan a QR code and it will read up to 20,000 English books. And I think the unique part of the reading robot is that it can have, I think, 70,000 Mandarin or Putonghua stories. So, you know, the power of AI is amazing because you wouldn't have that many books in a local library or even in your school. So I just wanted to share those while we've got this platform. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks very much, Betty.
Thank you.
There was another comment at some point. There was another comment by Miss Chiam. I can go ahead and read it if you would like. I thought it was really interesting because she wrote, "It is not just a question of time. The quality of screen time is critical. Equally important is to ensure that the child enjoys outdoor activities, exercise, family time, and socialization. If the child enjoys all these activities and is engaged in them meaningfully, then screen time is automatically limited." So I know that many of you have been referring to this whole thing of how many hours or how long can a child be engaged. So do you guys have any reactions, any comments in response to this comment by Miss Chiam? Please, you can go ahead. Weipeng, I know you were talking about I know you were talking about time in the beginning. I mean, would you agree with this comment? It's just not about that, it's also about the quality of what children are really doing.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. The thing is that we should not forget the traditional meaningful activities. We are used to do those activities every day with our kids, and those are really valuable. So the thing is that we should keep them, and definitely then the time specifically assigned for screen time will be definitely shorter. So although I'm researching on digital technology in early childhood, I'm not that kind of extreme person like saying that technology is the best, because I think we need to strike for a balance of traditional and the digital technologies for children. Yeah, that's the thing.
Thank you, Weipeng. I would also like to add on a little bit about this. Actually, even though there are some quite few researches already about this, and there are recommended number of hours in terms of how many hours do these children have in this screen exposure, Actually, we're still in the current like investigation on how quality and quantity should be weighed upon when using digital devices. Actually, one of my doctorate students, her research now is really investigating in terms of whether it should be quantity or the quality that we should be talking about here. But I think it's also about the balance of these two things when using digital devices. We were talking about one of the frameworks in terms of using technology, that if this technology can actually provide transformative learning experience for young children, just like what Anthony has shared a while ago, that if you can provide or use this technology to extend some learning experience for children, then why not use these technological devices? As long as that specific quality could actually improve or enhance development and learning experience for young children, then I don't think it's bad to use this technology. And as long as it requires effort as well from parents, which Anna was able to share a while ago, that it really like requires effort and time for adults and parents to actually supervise these children in the use of this technology. And it's not just about screen-based technology that we are discussing here, but also those unplugged technologies that we can actually apply to young children, because mostly adults and people nowadays, they are still limited in the knowledge that when we talk about integrating technology for children, it's just about screen exposure. But there are more technologies that we can actually use to children, such as those robots, the B-bots, Matata Lab, and other kinds of devices, so that children can develop this technological skills. Yes, I think, Anna, you're raising your hand.
Hi, Yana. Yeah, if I can just jump in there for a minute. I think this is really a really valid thing to talk about the quality of screen time. That it is, I'm thinking in an environmental context. We use a lot of screens in our early childhood setting, but in so many different ways. We use them, some children use them for regulation. We use a lot of lighting, which is another form of technology. The different ways you light small worlds, the different ways you light engagements can really bring children in. I know Anthony mentioned about things like shadows, projectors, time-lapse videos of children and them being able to see themselves moving differently. There's so many diverse ways that we can integrate technology into classrooms and into those situations where it becomes a real tool. They become really in control of what they're doing. I've got 3-year-olds in my class who don't speak a lot, but they can record their learning and share it and I can get that and share it with their parents. And they do that independently by just having learned the skill of how to take a video and a photo. So I think there's a lot of really positive integrations in early childhood settings that we have the ability to support these children in, which is really exciting.
Yes, Ellen, you're also raising your hand.
Yeah, thank you so much for everyone's sharing here. And I also want to add a little of my observation while we're teaching technology, because this is a question definitely parents always ask about screen time, right? So what we see, it's really resonating what the comment is about, because it's all about how much students is inspired to try to like be curious about things that they're learning. It's about the quality of using screen, right? So some students, they are spending a lot of time on the screen because they are very addicted to gaming, to YouTube, to looking around, or like really something that it's might not be very good for them in the long run. And they can stick to the screen for hours if we don't intervene. But some kids, they are actually sticking to the screen when they create things. For example, we do have kids who leverage the use of screen to help them create their own storybook. So they might spend time writing their own story and creating the creative media outside of using their screen as well, with AI probably, or writing, typing over there. So I do agree that offline activities is very important, but we also might be seeing the purpose of why the kids are using the screen sometimes, to encourage them self-learn or to explore about the world.
Thank you very much, Helen. Well, in the interest of time, even though it's a very interesting conversation, and I saw some, I also wanted to ask a couple of questions, but unfortunately there's no time. There was another question really interesting from Mary Ann from Chung. But I am looking at the clock and it's only 3 minutes left, right? So I guess we have to proceed to close the session, and so that we don't go beyond 6:30, right? So thanks everyone for your contributions, and I'm sure that we will have opportunities to continue the conversations, or the participants can send you emails to ask you questions directly, right? So if we move to the next slide, please, I would like to absolutely always say special thanks to Sophie Chua and also to Yana Cheng, who really do a lot of work in terms of coordinating and organizing these interconversations sessions. So you guys are wonderful. Thanks so much for your help. And I guess that's all. So as we always say, we would like to stay in touch with you. Please follow our department. We have all kinds of social media: LinkedIn, Twitter, WeChat, Instagram, Facebook. So if anybody's on these social media account, so please just scan any of these QR codes to stay connected with us and to participate in all of the interconversations that we do regularly, right? So thanks, Jana. Thanks to all of the speakers. Thanks to the participants. It was wonderful to have this session today, and we will stay in touch. All right. Thank you very much.